You know that feeling, right? That little jolt of genius when you use an AI tool and it gives you the perfect answer instantly. It feels like you just got a brain upgrade. But what if that feeling isn't real? Today, we're going to dig into the overconfidence trap and ask if our smartest tools are actually, secretly, making us worse thinkers.
Okay, let's dive right in with a feeling I bet we all recognize. Remember that first time you used something like ChatGPT and boom, it spits out exactly what you needed. It's that sudden rush of power, that feeling of being instantly competent. And South Park just nailed it right here. It really feels like the AI is making us smarter.
And that feeling is really the core question we're tackling today. Look, there's no doubt AI helps us produce better stuff faster. The output is polished, it's professional, it's quick. But is our own underlying knowledge actually keeping up? What if that amazing feeling of competence is just an illusion?
So how do you even start to measure something like that? Well, it turns out researchers have found this kind of surprising glitch in how we think when we're using AI. And they have a name for it, the metacognition gap. All right, so check this out. A really fascinating study put this whole idea to the test. Researchers took these notoriously tricky logical reasoning questions, the kind you'd find on the LSAT, the big law school admissions test, and they split people into two groups. One group had to wrestle with the problems on their own, and the other group got to use an advanced AI as a helper.
And the results? This is where it gets really interesting. The group with AI did do better. They scored about 3 points higher on average. So you might think, case closed, AI is great, right? Well, not so fast. Here's the twist. When they asked everyone, hey, how do you think you did? That AI-assisted group thought they scored 7 points higher. They didn't just feel confident, they were wildly overconfident by 4 whole points. That right there is the metacognition gap in action. And this leads us to the most important word for our entire conversation today, metacognition. I know, it sounds like a super academic term, but it's actually pretty simple. It's your ability to accurately judge yourself. It's knowing what you know, and maybe more importantly, knowing what you don't know. And this research suggests AI might be messing with that internal radar.
So yeah, this isn't just about getting a test score wrong. It's pointing to a much bigger psychological trap that these tools are setting for us. Let's call it the great overestimation.
You've probably heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect before. It's this classic idea, right? When you're a beginner at something, you often don't know enough to even realize how much you don't know. So you're brimming with confidence. But the real experts, they're so aware of all the nuance and complexity that they actually tend to underestimate their own skills.
But here is the wild part. AI comes along and just breaks the model. That classic Dunning-Kruger curve, it gets completely flattened. All of a sudden, it's not just the rookies who are overconfident. With an AI assistant, everybody becomes overconfident. That healthy dose of self-doubt that makes experts so good, poof, it just evaporates. We all start thinking we're better than we really are.
And this next part, this is the one that really blew my mind. You would think that people who actually get how AI works, the tech-savvy ones, they'd be immune to this, right? Well, the study found the exact opposite. The more you knew about AI, the worse you were at judging your own performance. Let me say that again. The more AI literate you were, the more overconfident you became. It's a complete and total paradox.
So, what is going on here? How can a tool that makes our work objectively better actually make our self-awareness worse? Well, it all comes down to this really critical and kind of dangerous confusion between our output and our actual understanding.
Okay, here comes another big fancy term from the researchers. AI-mediated metacognitive decoupling. Whoa. But all it really means is that AI creates a split, a decoupling, between the amazing stuff we can produce and what we genuinely know. We can create this perfect, polished final product, but our own internal knowledge just hasn't caught up. Let's break it down like this. Before AI, our confidence was usually tied to what was actually in our heads. If you didn't know something, it was pretty hard to fake it. But with AI, we start basing our confidence on the slick, perfect thing the machine spits out. We look at that brilliant paragraph, and our brain tricks us into thinking, wow, I did that, when really we were more like a project manager. We're giving ourselves credit for the AI's heavy lifting. Okay, I know, this all sounds a little doom and gloom, but it doesn't have to be. There is a way to fight back against this. The key is to completely change how we think about the tool. We have to stop using it as a cognitive crutch and start treating it more like a sparring partner. So, if you're leading a team or maybe mentoring someone, how do you teach them to use these tools the right way? Here's a super practical 4-step guide. First, don't just settle for the first answer. Push them to use AI to explore and dig deeper. Second, use it to challenge your own thinking. Literally prompt the AI, poke holes in this argument for me. Third, have it play devil's advocate. Ask it to juxtapose different perspectives. And number 4, and this is probably the most important one, make it show its work. The goal here isn't just to get the answer, it's to understand the process of how it got there.
So let's pull back for the big picture here. In a world where AI can generate seemingly flawless answers for almost anything, what's our role? What's left for us to do that actually matters?
Well, think about it. As AI makes generating text and data cheap, the skills that become truly priceless are the ones that are uniquely human. Things like discernment, knowing what actually matters in a sea of information, evaluation, spotting when the AI is confidently wrong, and good old-fashioned judgment, making a tough call when the data is ambiguous. Those things, you can't automate them. That's the new premium. That's the human algorithm.
And I think this quote from Fawaz Habel at Harvard just hits the nail on the head. At the end of the day, AI is an incredible tool, like a calculator on steroids. But the really messy, complicated human challenges, those are still going to require humans. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. We are living in an age of infinite answers. So maybe real wisdom isn't about what you know anymore. Maybe it's about what you choose not to know, about asking the right questions. The big question for all of us is, how are you going to use these powerful new tools to get genuinely smarter, and not just to feel smarter? Thanks for thinking it through with me.